we're going to see what YouTube flags us for, because they're on a flagging binge if I upload anything, it seems. Baal, Behemoth, Beelzebub, I prefer to call it Beelzebub, Asmodeus, Satanas, and Lucifer. This is the 6-name intro for a song by the band Ghost called Year Zero. And it's used in a lot of videos of people's pets or just random animals behaving strangely on farms, because when they're being bad, teasing them by calling them by name works, because they're not going to be able to do anything about it. Especially cats, when they're doing something evil or just being goofy. Pagan mythology entity names included Moloch, I can't pronounce it, Dagon, Belial, Beelzebub, Satan, etc., were re-Christianized and named as those who escaped heaven. Yes, that's actually the history of this. Again, Christianity's works that people cite and misquote chronically for a specific set of reasons I'm actually going to go ahead and explore, were written from 300 BC to 380 approximately. That's the majority of the content you find in what is commonly called a Christian Bible. There's also Hebrew and Aramaic and Koine Greek scripts that existed from around the same time period that were the derivational source for much of this, and then retellings and reprocessing, and then finally just editing for whatever a person wanted. And these are listed as the books of, and then they name people. And then at the same time, when you deal with certain varieties of believers, doesn't matter what the religion, they'll say, well, it wasn't actually that person, so it's a book of somebody you're claiming didn't write it. We are at that point. Okay, but we're going to do something really nifty here. One of the ways of taking internally non-consistent content and bringing it to the surface, like squeezing that zit till it pops, is to take people at their word and actually quote them verbatim and ask them what the hell they're going on and on about. But this isn't about that. This is actually about the meme on the internet mostly. But I wanted to look up the origin story for why these are considered evil. And you're going to hear something you don't like. But yeah, most of this is from pagan mythology that was repurposed to get people who were pagan to join another group. It's a marketing campaign. And also from just retelling oral histories. People would use the same famous names for people or for mythical people. I'm going to bring up Paul Bunyan. That's a name some of you might have heard of. And a lot of you, because of this day and age, probably don't know the story of Paul Bunyan. But I could just make up a new story where I have a character called Paul Bunyan. Make him part of the Marvel Universe if I want to. But the point is that there is an actual origin story and history to this, and people don't like bringing it up because eventually when you get into religious studies, yes, I'm an atheist who went into religious studies, mostly because I was curious. What you get are people who are standing there in a full outfit, whether they have the collar or the hat, post-hole digger, Pope hat kind of people. They'll actually just admit, no, these are old stories that were codified or codified, they'll use that word, to use mythical names to tell a story and explain things to you. It's like Aesop's fables. They are fables. They're mythology to teach you a lesson. And then again, I would argue a bunch of things that people keep repeating aren't lessons on how to do things right. They're stories of people doing objectively horrible things to other people as a sign of power, which was really what was worshipped at the time, 300 BC to 300 AD, as being authority. Authority came from killing people, making them miserable, ruling them with an iron fist. If you choose to believe that history was not formed by that, at least during that period of time, a large proportion of the time, you're a nitwit and I don't have to respect your opinion anymore. I won't. But let's go on and on about all these names. These were Christianized versions of people who escaped heaven. They were referred to in the same class as sons of God in the Christian religion. Wait a minute, the sons of God, isn't that like Adam or something? Isn't that like Jesus? Also, they could take human wives. Suspiciously, there were no female angels. Sounds like fan service. Yes, these are all oral histories. They weren't, no jokes there, these were not written texts, which means people could change their stories over time. Then the horrible invention of literacy, not writing, literacy. The majority of the population started learning at least some symbols and could look at what you were reading and say, you read that wrong. Being corrected by the people you're teaching is infuriating when you're a teacher. The only thing more infuriating is when they catch you lying about what's on the page. And I'm going to say this one more time here. Okay, maybe more than once, but here will be the first time. Religion is a way of controlling people because it's an unelected ruling body. Don't believe me? Are you required to obey your church or religion? Church and religion are separate. No. Are you required to do so? Or is the punishment eternal damnation? Or really, in the past 300 BC to 300 AD, they would murder you for refusing to obey them. That never happened? You don't get to answer those questions. It's impossible for you to lie unless you're being heard. If only you know what you're saying, lying to yourself requires a supreme level of self-denial. So don't tell anybody the answer. Sit there and think it. Okay, now that I've set the stage, fallen angels did not appear, and apparently still don't, in Abrahamic scriptures or the Bible unless you find people editing. Now I'm going to say something here. Not for the first time, but this time again, like I've done before. Every single religious text is an edit of a previous one. But even Muslims can't say otherwise. But no, you're not. Because again, these were originally oral traditions and they were written down. And there's acknowledgement in academia, in Islam, that they have been changed. The sacred words supposedly exclusively from God are rewrites and edits. Well, they were just translations and mistranslations innocently done. No. A lot of it's very obviously edits that were done to tailor-make it for the audience. Fan service. Fallen angel idea is derived later on. There was a need for them to be assumed fallen individuals, bad individuals, or punished individuals, even though originally that's not what it was. They can't be God's first sons, as originally stated. So they must be fallen, and they must be, because this is the only thing that can be brought up as an excuse, angels, and as depicted elsewhere. The reference that's given sometimes is within one or another of the 3 books of Enoch that was done from 300 BC to 100 BC, arguably more than one lifespan. 3 lifespans or more. So it can't be the same author. And they're not considered canon. But people keep citing the subject matter that was only originated within them, or was originated in a work that referred to them. The origin data, the original citation that is used by the citations, is from someone who also said that humans are limited to 120 years of age, and that human women and angel husbands, not fallen angels, current in good standing angels, had children, and that these children were originally famous warriors, using a word that has more than 3 meanings at least, Nephilim or Nephilim. And yes, someone is going to argue in the comment section and in 15 fucking videos in a long drawn out way you won't be able to sit through that it has to be said a certain way, which is a good argument because the people who wrote it down and even used it verbally refused to use fucking vowels. Now I want you to sit there, yes or no, were the original words written out minus vowels? We have consonants and vowels. E, O. Cow, Q. Cow. Q? I mean, vowels were ignored. I repeat, the reason for this problem is you're using a supposedly expert source of information that refused to indicate what vowel was used. Oh, they'll know it. Or is this a way of making obscured or occult language by refusing to use fucking vowels. I'm an asshole about this, but really, an entire language that ignored the origin for how we speak. We start with a vowel. That can be bug or gab. It's the same consonants in different order with a slightly different vowel. Has a different meaning, but anyway. So angels in good standing, not fallen angels, had children with women who were limited to 120 years of age, an acknowledgement of the ages that could be used, so therefore the universe cannot be just 6,000 years old. That was the minimum age, but we'll get to that in another video again. Anyway, their children were just famous warriors, and they were called Nephilim, or whatever you want to call them, whatever wording, because that can mean appointed or prisoner. Those that cause others to fall, a warrior, or the ones who have fallen. And also, for some reason, also the word giant, or great, or powerful. So Enoch decided at one point to decide that they were 450 feet tall, because math hard and measurement hard to do. Instead of saying twice as tall as a human or whatever. If you're not aware of it, there's a physiological restriction on living things. It doesn't matter if you claim that they're, oh, well, the Nephilim had to be ridiculously tall, just like in these cartoonishly faked images on the internet that were actually called Photoshops. They were worth 2,000 Photoshops of people digging up giants. Yes, every single one of those is a fucking fake, an acknowledged fake that was done by somebody you can go look up. At one time, the website called Worth 1000 or whatever it was called had Photoshop contests. And a lot of you people out there, you people, refer to these images as if they are proof. They're not. And they weren't 450 feet tall or whatever. There's a physiological and biological limit to how tall an individual living thing can be unless it's supported by water, by being buoyant and being a sea creature or sea mammal. So the upper limit on the largest living thing on the planet was ridiculously big, almost the same size, but it walked on 4 legs. And it was elephant-shaped in many of its characteristics, meaning a huge amount of weight distribution. This is the cubed-squared law or square-cubed law. Basically, every time you increase the mass of something or the height of something, if you try to scale it the same way, it doesn't work and it collapses in on itself. Just like a building has to be kind of chunky, these would have to be ridiculously chunky people. The tallest human being we have on record that was alive, that was able to live a relatively normal life and still died from a relatively sad source, was around 8 feet tall. We do not have 11 or 12 feet tall human beings on record that are reliable, but there is reports of individuals being that height. Not 450 feet tall. Basically double the height of a human being and obviously out of scale and not being able to swing a club. No Islamic scholars or verses in the Quran declare angels immune from sin. Most of them decided to stress the piety of angels, so 2 angel companions of Muhammad must now be kings because they weren't perfect. Religions often rewrite things. You might also look up Worm, the city of Worm, Germany, a book written by Abrahamic Grimoire that listed all sorts of names. This was written in 1450 AD. It is not an authentic or origin story for any of them. We have Beelzebub, symbolizing gluttony, Asmodeus for lust, sin and pride is Lucifer, morning star. The neutral Belphegor is listed as sin of sloth, and wrath is Azazel, Mammon is greed, and Leviathan is envy. Lots of envy and pride and stuff. They needed 7 of them to be symbols of the 7 deadly sins, but that came later as there are more than one, or dozens, or half a dozens, rebels, princes, kings, or emperors of hell, or just of the demons. But anyway, the intro to the song is quite neat, and makes a really good intro for your cat videos, I suppose. But this got me on this rabbit hole, finding out that, even the fallen demons were originally God's chosen ones and were equivalent to Adam, according to the Bible. That contradicts itself repeatedly, and some of you want to base our laws on it. And some of you want to rule us with an iron fist up our ass without asking nicely and lubing it up properly. And I say no to thee, I defy thee, because you are of the devil for this act, as stated in the Bible. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.